Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new edition of Let's Talk About Education with Antonio Corrales. As you may know, I'm an educator, an entrepreneur, and a professor at the University of Houston Clear Lake. My main goal is to introduce you to pioneers in the field of education and to let you know about topics that you may not be aware of, but you may be interested in. Today, we have the honor to have with us Dr. Pilar Moreno, somebody who has breakthrough in the field of bilingual education and who is a champion helping children. Thank you so much for being with us today, Dr. Moreno.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun.
Okay, Dr. Moreno, so let's start by letting the audience know about yourself, introducing yourself, and letting them know about your career. How did you get where you are right now?
Well, basically, my career started all the way in Spain. I did, my master's in English Language Arts and Literature, and my goal was to become an ESL teacher in high school in Spain. So basically what happened is once I finished my degree there, I decided that it was time for me to travel and learn and experience new cultures, because that's what my master was about. So my first experience was in Northern Ireland, and the experience was beautiful. It was amazing. So it was only a 1-year contract, and then I have to go back to my home country. And once there, I felt that I was not fulfilled, with the type of work that I was doing, and I was looking forward to moving abroad again. So what I did was to apply for the TEA, the Texas Education Agency Visiting Teacher Program. And basically, I ended up here by applying and got recruited, and I became a bilingual teacher here in Texas. I worked in East Texas in Tyler ISD for 4 years as a bilingual teacher. And then working hard and learning a lot, I became a campus literacy coach, for the school where I was hired as a bilingual teacher. And from there, I got hired to support children, in a bigger scope at the district level as a district cognitive coach. I did that, and then the opportunity came for me to do my second master's in Tyler, UT Tyler, and I became, I graduated with a master's in educational leadership, and that gave me an opportunity, opened a door for me to really become an administrator. So I got hired in this time in West Texas as executive director of bilingual ESL and migrant education director, and it was a wonderful experience, and that's what brings me here to the current position as director of bilingual ESL, in Texas, in Baytown.
Okay, so Dr. Moreno, can you explain to the audience about what is bilingual education, what is ESL, what is SIOP, and what the status of bilingual education in America is? Because there's a lot of misperception out there, lack of knowledge, okay, in regards to the terminology, in regards to where we are in bilingual education in America right now. So can you explain to the audience first the terminology, what is bilingual education, what is ESL, what is SIOP, and where we are in bilingual education right now in America?
Mm-hmm. So basically, just to say something like a summary would be, something good is that bilingual ESL and SIOP, they are all good things, supports for students, that are learning languages. If we start with the general umbrella of what has happened in the country, we would say that bilingual education has been very politicized throughout many years, throughout history, and through Supreme Court cases. We have seen that the courts always have ruled in favor of providing students with the language support that they need through bilingualism, through ESL instruction. So basically what you have is a bilingual model, bilingual program, an ESL program in the United States. Every state have their own models that then they apply. And in Texas, for example, we have four bilingual program models. We have an early exit model, we have a late exit model, and we have a dual language one way, a dual language two way. What are all those programs about? It's about providing supports to groups of students. In many cases, students are going to come to us with a language other than English, and these programs are meant to support them in their acquisition of the language and the academic language.
Utilizing their mother language.
Yeah, so the district determines the type of model that they're going to offer to the students in the district. One of the best models out there, if not the best, is the dual two-way. Basically, that model, you have Spanish speakers, English speakers, or English speakers or Vietnamese speakers, other language, and they are living together. They are learning together in the same classroom, and they are not only acquiring language, but also learning about their cultures, Some models are more additives than others. The recommendation from research is that dual language two-way are the best one. It's the best one because you are not only learning language, you are learning how to live in life with people who are different, who have a different culture from you. So it becomes additive in the sense that all the students are adding a language, are adding a culture, and they're learning together.
And you're allowing two populations also, the English speakers to learn Spanish and the Spanish speakers to learn English. So you're really truly giving an add value to both populations.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely. And then you have other bilingual models, because Spanish is the language most spoken pretty much in the United States, but then you have other models that are coming, other languages that are emerging, and then you find bilingual models, dual language, in Chinese. So there are other languages that, bilingual education, dual language, two ways being offered.
Now, those bilingual programs are correct me if I'm wrong, but most of those bilingual programs are offered at the elementary level, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, and in the state of Texas, you have now districts who are offering all the way to middle school, but also high school in some credits.
With the dual program.
A dual program.
Yeah. Now, what about the ESL program?
The ESL program is offered to students who may have a language different than Spanish. It may be students coming from other countries. We have students from Pakistan. We have students from India.
Mm-hmm.
We may not necessarily offer a bilingual program in that language, in Hindi or Gujarati, but we have ESL services. And what it means is that the teachers, just like in the bilingual program, they have to be ESL certified, and they have to be, this is very important, trained in sheltered instruction or any second language acquisition techniques to support the students on how to acquire content and how to acquire language. So that's kind of pretty much in a nutshell what the ESL program
So
is.
for the audience, or the ESL, English as a second language,
Correct.
is a legal program that we utilize, and then the SIOP is the Shelter Instruction Observation Protocol, which is like a methodology, right?
Yes, the SIOP is more like a research-based methodology. There was this research put together by three very important researchers, Echevarria, Vogt, and they really did this research across the country.
Mm-hmm.
And they visited numerous classrooms, and they put together a protocol that would help the teachers and the students to really better either deliver the content and acquire the content and develop the language. So the SIOP model is just a model for teaching, for best practices to support our ESL or bilingual students acquiring another language.
And so for kind of to summarize for the audience out there, the bilingual program basically allows you to utilize the mother language as a learning tool.
Correct.
to acquire English. The ESL program basically is a methodology to transition from their mother language to English, but not utilizing the mother
Exactly.
language. And then the SIOP model is a methodology basically to
That's
help
correct.
to increase instruction. Now, in general terms, what can you tell us about the status of bilingual education in America, where we are right now?
Where we are right now is that we always go with what research says, right? Research says that restrictive language policies that have been really in fashion in some states like California with Proposition 227, or in Arizona or in Massachusetts, those states who have been trying to restrict language programs, what they have found is
They had tried to restrict the use of mother
the use
language.
of mother language. They have tried to restrict the use of mother
For
language
example,
or
I
bilingual
know,
education.
I know, for example, in California, maybe Chinese or Mandarin
Correct.
because of the immigration, or in Texas, maybe Spanish, or in Arizona, maybe Spanish. Or,
Correct.
Yeah.
So in those states where they have tried to restrict bilingual education with the use of their mother language to make the transition into a second language, or just the use of a dual language, right? What they have found when they have tried to immerse the students into just English is that the research have found that not only the students did not perform academically with that immersion, but there was a higher percentage of students who became non-proficient in English in the long term. And then what they are finding is that students who are part of bilingual or dual language programs, in the long term, they are making more gains academically. They are acquiring content better. So what we see is that regardless of the politics that may happen in different states, what we see is that the dual language programs, the two-way programs, the bilingual programs, they are successful when they are highly implemented, when and they have the biggest impact. They are having the biggest impact. To the
Well, and I
students.
think that's a critical point that you're hitting. Number one, saying that Texas has been really open to
Yes.
to bilingual education, and those states who have going backwards in regards to implementation of bilingual programs have paid a price by having higher dropouts, students not performing the right way. So basically, all the research indicates that bilingual programs are necessary
Yes.
to help students transition to English in a successful way, and I think that's a
That's correct.
really important point. Talking now to a bigger spectrum, what are the most important things that teachers, counselors, administrators should know about bilingual and ESL education to positively and effectively impact academic performance in their schools? Now let's talk directly to teachers, counselors, and administrators who may not be familiarized with bilingual education or ESL, but they have bilingual students, ESL students, and they really wanna improve their academic performance in their schools or their district. What would you recommend them to do?
My number one advice for all of them would be you have to know your students. You have to know your data. You need to know about who they are, because there is no way to build relationships with the students unless you know about them. And then the data comes in as well. What is their language proficiency? What is the goal of the bilingual program? So it's very important to share as much information and educate your community about what you are trying to achieve with the program model that you select or the models that you may have in the district. And really the advice is to really make sure people know their students, because without knowing them and knowing their data, their information, family background, sometimes we are not able to reach them in the same way as if we didn't know the information. So it's very important to really know the students.
Their strengths or weaknesses.
Strengths, weaknesses. Now they are at this proficiency level. What do I need to do to move them up? With counselors, we have been really working in making sure they are scheduled. The students are scheduled, especially in secondary. Once they leave the elementary and secondary education, it's very important to make sure the counselors are working in collaboration with the Language Proficiency Assessment Committee on the schools. That is the committee that regulates, monitors the students, the placement of our English language learners, and that they are placed in the appropriate classes with certified personnel, with making sure the teachers are sheltered instruction trained. And these are teachers who will really impact the students in the best ways possible.
Well, when you mean certified person, you mean ESL certified?
ESL certified in secondary. In elementary, for the bilingual program, they have to be bilingual certified. So my first advice is you have to know your students. You need to know what the needs are so that you can help them, whether it is a schedule, whether it is instruction, whether it is moving them up, or understanding them.
What about teachers? What staff development would you recommend them to do to get better helping these kids in the classrooms?
Well, we have been offering lots of professional development on the English language proficiency standards, because our goal with the program model that we have is to make a transition into English and make them acquire the English language, so that they can master the English curriculum. So the ELPs, The English language proficiency standards are very important for that acquisition of the English language. We have also offered training on balanced literacy, on developing the first language, the Spanish language first, so that they can have that strong foundation. So we have provided teachers, with a lot of support on the area of balanced literacy, developing that first language so that they can acquire a second language, and then sheltered instruction as well. And what are those strategies that we need to put in place in the classroom to make sure the students are understanding the lesson? They are, the teachers are checking for understanding. The students are being able to produce and create and making sure they're understanding at that deeper level. So those are some of the trainings we have been providing that I think are very important for bilingual teachers.
And what about administrators? What would you recommend them to do to become better administrators when facing, let's say that there are new administrators in a bilingual, predominantly bilingual ESL campus, and they are not totally familiarized with, or they're new superintendents, what would you recommend them to do to get better and to be able to serve those kids in a better way?
I do think it's very important with administrators to not only share the data about the students so that they know the needs, but it's very important that, and when I talk about data, I talk about, like a needs assessment that needs to happen when you're a brand new administrator. You need to know where you're stepping into. You need to know what is my reality, right? So that then they are able to determine, what can I do in this area? And they have the why, the rationale. But it's very important for them to attend the type of the same training we're offering to teachers,
Correct.
because if we are expecting our administrators to monitor and provide feedback to teachers and support teachers, they're not going to be able to do that unless they know the training the teachers are receiving. So we invite our administrators to also attend the teachers' training. We have a Instructional Leader Academy for English language learners. It's called Instructional Leader EL Academy this summer, and that academy is going to be open for teachers, for administrators, but also for paraprofessionals, because our classroom aides are very important. They spend many hours in those classrooms with the teachers, so we need to make sure that every adult on campus, in the schools, are impacting our students the best way possible.
On the same page.
All of them are leaders. And if I'm expected as an administrator to go into a bilingual classroom and coach a teacher, I need to know what the ELPs are. I need to know what the sheltered instruction looks like in the bilingual classroom. What is balanced literacy? Unless administrators are equipped with those tools, they're not going to be able to help the teachers.
So basically, in summary, 2 or 3 important workshops. Number 1, the English language proficiency standards, to kind of know where they are, and number 2, sheltered instruction.
Sheltered instruction and balanced literacy. Balanced literacy is very important because our goal is to make sure our students have a strong foundation in the first language. Without that, it's very hard. You're going to have students who are going to struggle at the end of the day, if they don't have that strong foundation in their first language.
Now, when we talk in functioning bilingual ESL campuses, sometimes you see that there's a divide between the regular teachers and the regular programs versus the bilingual programs. In other words, they plan at the different times. They have their own meetings separately. The professional learning communities are in different time frames. What would you recommend to break that divide? In those campuses that you may see that may end up affecting morale and school climate and ended up affecting performance. What would you recommend?
I think one of the things that is helping us, I think, is tap into 2 things. Tap into everybody's strengths. Everybody has a strength. And what we do is that we tap into everybody's strengths, and then we invite them to share that strength with others. Let's say if I find that a teacher is doing a great strategy in a classroom and is really a master teacher, she's the one facilitating our professional learning communities. So what we're finding is the strength of the teachers, know which ones those are, and also utilize them in a way that builds community through our professional learning communities. The PLCs, are a great vehicle to make sure the teachers are collaborating, are looking at the student data. My ESL student may end up being in your classroom for science, but comes to me for math. So we need to make sure we are in alignment so that we can maximize our support for that student. So the professional learning communities, teachers come, they're sharing information, and it's becoming a great vehicle to share information that our bilingual teachers had as language experts, and sharing those with the regular ed teachers. And the same way around, that a PLC, the PLC provides an opportunity for the regular ed teacher to share what she knows, and also, discuss what's working, in the classroom, and what happens when it's not working. How are we going to brainstorm? How we're going to support the students? So the PLCs are being a great tool here in our district to support our students.
And I think what you're saying is really important, that administrators don't underestimate that potential divide that may occur between the regular programs and the ESL, because then that may affect their performance or in the school morale in general.
Right.
Keeping that. Do you have any recommendation for parents or students to possibly and effectively learn about bilingual and ESL education? What can you tell them? In this case, specifically for students or parents that are there, may not be really aware of bilingual education and the resources that are available. What would you recommend them, to do?
Well, one of the interesting things we have is that we do provide support at home. We have technology programs that they can use at home. My first advice would be to maintain your culture, maintain your home language. That's very important, because it's very important to maintain who you are, maintain your roots, because eventually you do not know where your children are going to end up. They may become the ambassadors of that culture. So my advice to the parents is to maintain your roots, maintain your language. If it is not now, later on in high school, when they go, take that Spanish, take that language, because it's going to help your students graduate with a seal of biliteracy. So maintaining the culture is very important, and making sure that the parents understand we welcome you, we need you. Research indicates that parents who are involved in the school, the students tend to perform more academically. So it's very important for the parents to send a message to the parents that we do need you. You need to come to the classroom. So that's a message that I share with my teachers. Invite your parents into your classroom. Let them observe. Inform them about technology programs that we may have at home, books that you can send home to read. Reading is very, very important. So. And we have parents sometimes that decide, sometimes for many reasons, to waive bilingual education. We show them the data. We show the data. We tell the parents, anytime you have a question about bilingual education, go to your teacher, go to your administrator, or come to us as a bilingual department. We share the data, and we do know that the students who are not part of a bilingual or ESL program, when we do know they need the help, they're the students that are underperforming the most academically. So it's very important.
That's extremely important, because many parents of them may have these perceptions about, if I'm going to receive bilingual education, I'm going to delay the English learning process of my child, when it's totally the opposite.
Correct.
And you ended up being affecting. So I think that's a great point.
So it's very important for the parents to understand the support that we offer, and parents need to see this is the type of program, this is how it works, this is how much Spanish do we offer, this is how much English, because some parents come to us, I just don't want him to learn Spanish. And we have to show them, no, we are learning also English. And the other way around, sometimes parents say, we only want Spanish, and say, yes, we also teach Spanish in the program. So it's having that candid conversation with the parents and informing them, hey, we have a good guided reading program, we have a good technology program that you can also use at home to support your child. But the most important thing is parents really communicating with the teachers and being a support for their kids at home,
Yeah.
and at school when they need it.
And I think what you're saying is not being afraid of asking.
Yes.
And also maybe children who are there that are maybe 15, 16, and may have to, drop out of school, knowing that, there are programs out there that they can help in, and just not being afraid of doing that.
One of the things that we do with our parents is that we invite them at the district level for breakfast, like 3 times a year. And what we do is that we are looking at empowering them also. So we train them in the language proficiency assessment committee so that they can be members of the committees at the campus level. So we invite them at the central office, we train them, and then in turn they are training now new parents. They are recruiting new parents so that they can be part of those committees, not just go or show up or help at home, but how can you as a parent help more deeply in the system, by being member of a committee like the ELPA, where you are making decisions, you are listening about how decisions are being made about your child, and you become a representative for all the parents in the district.
That's perfect. Well, I want to thank you one more time, Dr. Moreno, for being here with us today. Folks out there, please know that I'm going to have my information, so you can contact me if you have any questions for Dr. Moreno. I'll definitely forward it to her. One more time, thank you so much for being with us, and stay tuned.
Thank you.